Welcome, everyone. In this session, I'll guide you through how to submit a project through SolarAPP Plus and how it works in Colorado, specifically how it relates to the Department of Regulatory Agencies. Whether you're new or need a refresher, this training will give you the tools to succeed. My name is Mark Rodriguez. I'm the Chief Engineering Officer of the SolarAPP Foundation. I act as a subject matter expert. My expertise is in codes and standards development, and I continue to participate in that realm to make sure that SolarAPP stays closely aligned with codes and standards. Today, I'll be joined by my colleague, Brandon Carlson, the Director of Customer Support and Code Interpretation.
Hey all, so my name is Brandon. I've been in the solar industry for about 25 years now. I am an electrical contractor by trade, so I kind of know what you guys are dealing with in the field, and a E1, E2 electrical inspector. I handle things from customer support, license verification, uh, card issues, stripe issues, and stuff like that coming through. So happy to be here.
Thanks, Brandon. So today's training will cover license and registration requirements. We'll talk about project eligibility. We'll talk about the resources you should have on hand as the contractor to start your submission. And then I'll walk you through a new project submittal. We'll cover the inputs for fire, structural, and electrical detail, as well as any required certifications. We'll finish up with a review of what's required for inspection, what obligations you need to have as the installer. So let's talk about what is SolarAPP. So SolarAPP is an online platform. It's available 24/7 to submit projects at your convenience. We're basically taking the place of the plan review department for your local jurisdiction, and allowing an application to virtually check your system. SolarAPP is going to check your system specifications against building, fire, and electrical safety codes and standards. We're going to integrate some error messaging and flags, so you're going to get instant corrections within the tool. SolarAPP is only going to allow a code compliant plan to move forward. So you're getting that instant feedback. No more waiting for the jurisdiction to give you responses or more information on your corrections. We've seen over time that this application leads to fewer failed inspections. We think mostly that's because we get everyone aligned with all of the rules. Basically, SolarAPP is going to give you everything you need to pass inspection as your deliverable. And then your approved project is going to result in an instant permit and inspection checklist. So no longer waiting for the black box of the jurisdiction to provide you corrections or comments and return that information back to you. So let's talk about what SolarAPP actually does. So this slide is your high-level overview process for contractors when you're using the SolarAPP. So the first, as the installer, you're going to input your project information. Takes about 15 minutes to move through the fire, structural, electrical, and workers' comp questions. There's about 50 questions total across all the forms. And the system is automating those compliance checks that we talked about earlier, which the AHJ staff would normally have to do manually. So all this is happening automated in the system. There's no human review that you're waiting for anyone to give you comments on. And then second, SolarAPP is going to complete those compliance checks. If you input everything as a compliant system, then it's going to give you live feedback. It's going to tell you that your system's approved for installation, and you're going to move forward through the process. Since it's automated, you're going to catch those code issues relatively quickly, right? So if something in your design doesn't meet the code, SolarAPP is going to immediately tell you. It's not going to let you progress forward, right? So we're not going to be able to take a plan issue, a discrepancy in the plan, and propagate that to installation. SolarAPP should stop that before you get there. So third, the final step is the contractor is going to complete a compliant application. You're going to pay the SolarAPP administrative fee and any applicable permitting fees. That all depends on where you're actually installing your system. We'll go over that a little bit later. Colorado is a little bit unique in how the different municipalities all check for electrical and building permits. And then once your payment is complete, you're instantly issued a job card or a permit, and you're authorized to go start your construction. All right. The cool thing about this process, it's no touch and it's available 24/7. So you can permit after hours, you can permit on the weekends. This is basically plan review department that doesn't close. And I'm going to pass it over to Brandon.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so it's a little different in Colorado how we do things throughout our system with our states. But in jurisdictions where SolarAPP is live beyond DORA, local municipality permits are obtained through SolarAPP directly. So that's what you see there on the 5 AHJs there. So it's a one-stop shop, basically. Depending on the jurisdiction, building permits may need to be required through the local municipality. And all projects requiring an electrical plan review through DORA go through the standard SolarAPP process, but then also go through DORA. So we can talk a little more about the details on that here shortly.
Yeah. So we've created a bit of a flow diagram to kind
Make
of
it less
illustrate the things.
confusing.
Yeah, to illustrate the points that Brandon's gone over. So if you look at starting on the left side of this this flow diagram where you're the contractor, you're going to start by entering your project information in the SolarAPP. SolarAPP is going to do its plan review. You get to an approved plan. That's going to email both DORA and the installer. So you get your own email, and DORA will also receive an email that you have an approved project in the tool. You're going to then navigate to DORA's website to purchase your electrical permit. That's going to kind of complete the process with DORA. And then when you get to your inspection on site, you're going to use SolarAPP's inspection checklist as your deliverable, as your inspection. I think with this process, you will also be uploading a line diagram. We'll go over those requirements later. But with those two resources, which you're going to conduct your inspection with. Right? But to get started with this whole thing, submitting permits, you first need to go register at gosolarapp.org. Let's pass it back to Brandon.
Yeah, so registration. This is a pretty standard process. You're just going to go to the SolarAPP website. You'll see a link on the top right, and you'll create an account. And so you'll just be entering your basic information that you do for any kind of portal. So you've got your name, your organizational email address, and then your primary contact phone number. For primary contact phone number, you can put your company phone number in there, but what we're really looking for is if something's going wonky in an application or an HJ comes back with a question, that's the number that our team will reach out to directly. So if you want to make it like your manager on site or the tech that usually handles these applications within SolarAPP, that's the best use there. If you're a third-party submitter, stay tuned. There's a little more information on how you would build out in the system. We're really looking for registration for contractors directly. And then if you're a third-party submitter or doing stuff on behalf of the contractor, there's a manager account and a team account. We can go over some details on that later. Once you're registered into the account, you can see here on the slide in front of us, you'll be brought to a page on your portal. So it's asking you what state you're working in. So for Colorado, you'll upload a license for the state. That'll be approved almost in real time. We're at about an hour to 2 hour response time for verification, because that's something we still do with a live person rather than just a computer system. So once we've verified that you are who you say you are, essentially, you'll be brought into this section. It'll show all the jurisdictions within Colorado that you can install it on. So you see on the far right there, we've got State of Colorado, and then Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies will be your local jurisdiction, and that will be all of the jurisdictions in Colorado that you can install utilizing SolarAPP directly.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So just to clarify there, your Colorado State electrical license authorizes you to submit projects in Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies territory. You may run into jurisdictions that also require a building permit, and at this point, that building permit would be acquired separately. All right. We're gonna go for license, Brandon.
Yes.
This is basically what you just said. This is your state electrical license where you submit it from.
Yeah, so you can see there, this is for Colorado. The license, it's kind of hard to see right here, but on the bottom right, you'll see state license expired. So once it expires in the system, you'll be given a little notice. You won't be able to submit again until you update that in the system. So it'll be the same process. You just go into a portal, you'll add your license again, it'll be re-verified, and then you'll get access again to those jurisdictions.
Let's move on to what you need to be eligible. Let's get on the same page. All right. So SolarAPP currently supports residential PV and PV combined with energy storage systems, including a host of complementary details that allow the tool to evaluate most installations. However, there are still certain limitations. The systems listed on the right side of the slide are not eligible for SolarAPP Plus permitting at this time. So these include unpermitted structures where there is no existing building approval, mobile homes due to the structural limitations, unlisted electrical equipment requiring consideration for alternate means and methods, or ballasted racking systems, which often weigh more than 4 pounds per square foot. So for SolarAPP structural scheme of 4 pounds per square foot for your PV panel array is the current limitation that we're working from with structural analysis. That said, most flush-mounted PV systems weigh well less than 4 pounds per square foot, so we haven't really seen a whole lot of blockers there. Ballasted systems do typically weigh more than that. So these exclusions help keep the system streamlined, compliant, and reliable for high volume use. For installations involving these elements, traditional permitting paths will be required. If the project doesn't contain an unsupported configuration, you can go through the application. So what that means is if you do need to seek alternate means and methods, SolarAPP is not the place for you to come to. It would take you through the traditional permitting method with your jurisdiction. It doesn't mean that systems aren't code compliant. It just means they're not suitable for automated review. All right. So reference materials. How do you source your inputs for the application? Well, it's important to have the right reference materials on hand when you're preparing your SolarAPP submission. A good starting point is the construction plan set. However, only the line diagram is required for the SolarAPP submission. Example documents to have when detailing a project in SolarAPP include line diagrams, structural details or design notes, plan view drawings or images, engineering calculations, sales proposals, and site survey photos. Installation manuals are also very helpful. They can provide clarity on special considerations and assist in answering questions or validating design choices. I could say most specifically that installation manuals are called out in the code, both in electrical and residential code. One thing I like to offer to installers is you should have your installation manual, at least the most important parts of installation manuals, on site for inspection. So part of the obligation here is that your inspection technicians are also prepared to sit that inspection and should have the right resources themselves. Let's get down to some nuts and bolts though. Let's talk about creating a project and how you begin.
Yeah, so this is the meat of the subject here. So once I've got my license verified in the system, and I'm all set to do my first installation, or excuse me, my first application, we'll go over to that Create New Project button that shows up on the screen. And that's under your project's dashboard. Once you create a new project, you'll paste the site address into the appropriate field. SolarAPP will then help verify and validate the address to ensure it's located within a jurisdiction where I am authorized to work. So you can see there, it'll drop down. Perfect. Thank you, Mark. If I'm in authorized that jurisdiction, a message will come up confirming the address, saying, hey, you're all good to go. If I'm not, you should get an error message that says, hey, you can't work within this jurisdiction. That's not going to be a big issue with you guys since you're already approved with so many jurisdictions, but sometimes there's a jurisdiction that may not be utilizing SolarAPP at this time. So you'll get a message that shows counter to that. Also, you can see on here, we can go over it later, but there is an option for templates. So this is something for your construction team to build out actual templates for the types of projects you usually do, which saves about 30% of time of each application on that. So make sure you utilize that feature if you want to save some time with efficiency. And then you'll hit continue. Go ahead, Mark. And there we go. We enter into an actual project. So first the scope will be automated in the system for you. And then you'll just go through question after question. So it's jurisdiction requirements, reviews, etc. Back to you, Mark.
All right, let's talk about jurisdiction configuration. Okay. So here we are back in the application. The first thing you want to do when you get into the application, you're ready to submit, is check your jurisdiction configuration. When you begin creating a project for a specific jurisdiction, their unique requirements will be displayed in a link at the top of the page. You can also access each jurisdiction configuration through the SolarAPP dashboard. So we just completed that project. You'll see kind of up here on the right, we've got Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies jurisdiction requirements. If I click that, this little modal pops up. It shows me what the configuration for that jurisdiction is. So I know that Department of Regulatory Agencies is on NEC 2023. They're following the 2021 residential code. Some notable things, they are not allowing main panel upgrades on the same permit with the solar. They are not allowing main breaker derates in that same submission. And some of these other things kind of detail some other configurations that some jurisdictions would use to customize or configure the jurisdiction for their specific needs and requirements. Okay, popping back over here. Let's talk about a feature focus. We talked about how to create a project. We talked about how to understand what the requirements of that project would be. Now we're getting into some details. This is the more technical stuff. I'm going to try not to get too far into the weeds, but really what we're looking at are a couple of questions that we see users have some trouble with. The first one I want to talk about is where your equipment will be interconnected. Interconnected is a thing that's pretty important in the NEC. There's whole chapters on how to describe or define that point of interconnection. I think in the past, during the traditional permitting method, that point of interconnection was never really solidly defined. For SolarAPP, it's defined as the location where your renewable sources are actually coming in contact with house loads or premises wiring. So the first thing we do in SolarAPP is identify bus bars or panel boards. These are basically places where power is being distributed through breakers, right, on a bus. Typical things you might see that would be a bus bar, your main service panel. In this slide, I've indicated that as bus bar number 1. The second bus bar I have is my end-phase combiner box. This is a place where I'm going to combine all my renewable sources in that one location. So when I think about the point of interconnection, I can see that my PV system and my batteries are all landing at my combiner panel, but there's no house loads there, so that really isn't a point of interconnection. The first place I can see for a point of interconnection is at that main service panel, where I have utility feed and my renewable sources all landing at the same place. In this particular system, they're all landing at that PV system breaker. We call that the point of interconnection. So if I go back to my design, for that design, I'm saying that inverter is going to be interconnected at the main service panel. And if we go back and look at our drawing, you'll see that my sources are over here on the left, and the only place they hit a panel board or bus bar with loads is at the main service panel. That's how I answer that question. All right. Some other things I want to talk about are energy storage system definitions. So when we started to develop SolarAPP and we got into these energy storage systems, we noticed there were a couple of different flavors of energy storage systems that required us to kind of define some terms. So a term that SolarAPP defined is the backup initiation device. And this is just a generic term that speaks to the two flavors of isolation devices we see commonly for energy storage systems. So we typically see one of two things. We either see a microgrid interconnect device, an MID, and the best product I can think of to illustrate this topic is the Tesla Gateway, Gateway 2. That is a microgrid interconnect device. It's utility interactive, has specific provisions, and a specific product safety listing. The other flavor I see is the automatic transfer switch. This is most commonly seen with Generac products, where you're using a different device to do that isolation. These systems function a little bit differently. They're listed as different product safety standards, and there are different requirements in the code to help qualify them. SolarAPP is also pretty good for energy storage systems now, handling power control systems and energy management systems under the 2023 NEC. And we can do either an energy storage system, which we consider as an AC coupled device that has a built-in inverter and probably connects somewhere like your main service panel via a breaker. The other energy storage system we can qualify as a DC coupled battery. This typically uses another piece of equipment or a combination of pieces of equipment that help make a complete system, right? And these are usually all covered under a product safety listing. All right, gonna move on from definitions to the line diagram. This slide introduces the legend icons commonly used in SolarAPP electrical diagrams. These diagrams are intentionally simplified to highlight only what matters for code compliance and inspection. And remember, in the DORA process, you're also including your line diagram, your contractor provided designed line diagram, but SolarAPP is going to do one just to help you identify that the system you've detailed matches the system that you're installing. So let's walk through some of the key symbols. Um, so the first one we're going to talk about is with backup initiation devices. They're shown as a switch inside of a block, which represents the point in the system where utility isolation happens during a power outage. These are most commonly used in conjunction with energy storage systems that have energized conductors downstream until the system is shut down. Common examples are the Tesla gateway and the Enphase IQ controller, or the IQ6 is the one that's out right now. SolarAPP can also identify a number of main panel configurations, including main lug only and solo main breaker enclosures. Bus bars shown with a solid black bar at the top of the symbol indicate a panel board with an integrated service disconnect. So you can tell this is a main breaker with a service disconnect on it. We can also check PV combiner panels, and sources aren't always indicated, but they are always located at the points of interconnection identified in the diagram. So these point of interconnection nodes, A and B, are the locations where my sources are interacting with this home's electrical system. Okay. This diagram is intended to orientate the inspector to the premises wiring system. Details will be listed in a later section. So we've taken all that information that the inspectors usually take off your single line diagram, we put it in text form. The design streamlines what you see so that you're not bogged down with irrelevant details when you're out in the field. Sure. Inspection obligations. What do you need to stand inspection? Pass it over to
All
Brandon.
right. Yeah. So being both an electrical contractor myself and an electrical inspector, this is very important to me to make sure everyone's on the same page. So let's talk about what the contractor should have on site and ready when the inspector arrives for the SolarAPP project. So these documents are critical, not only for compliance, but also for ensuring a smooth and efficient inspection. Everyone wants that, right? So first and foremost, the contractor must bring the SolarAPP approval document. This document includes the project address, unique approval ID, which should match the inspection site. We also have a QR code on our applications, the approval documents, to see for verification itself. Next, the contractor needs to have the approved uploads that are submitted through SolarAPP. So we have a place within SolarAPP on the application where you'll actually upload your data sheets. This means having the manufacturer data sheets for each major component. So we're talking inverters, energy storage system, racking, and UL 3741 listed hazard control, like for PV arrays, on hand and ready to show. So inspectors will often verify that the equipment installed matches these documents. And in some cases, particularly with main panel upgrades, or well, in our case, relocated loads and backup, the contractor also needs to show load calculations. So this shows the panel can handle the added system loads and must be NEC compliant methods. So you're all pretty used to this whenever you're moving loads around. Similarly, conduit fill calculations. They may be required if you're pulling multiple conductors through a small raceway, such as when relocating loads for system backup, right? So these calculations must show that the installed conduit meets NEC 310 15B3 and raceway fill allowances. So you're looking at Annex C in the back of the electrical code. Finally, the contractor should bring the manufacturer's instructions for the products used for the job. So this includes mounting instructions for racking, inverter installation specs, and any guidance provided for ESS integration. Inspectors may reference these to validate torque specs, ventilation, or other specific installation requirements. As you start doing more and more SolarAPP projects, you'll get a feel for what inspectors are looking for and what the preference is from each inspector and each AHJ on this. So some inspectors are completely okay with whatever you provide. Some ask for something specific. You'll get more and more feel of that, just like if you're getting into new AHJ with a new inspector on this stuff. So you'll see the actual inspection checklist as the approval documentation. You'll see on the top left, is that the one that first pops up? Oh no, the bottom left. There you go. it's going in different order. So the bottom left, that's our QR code. So it'll take you to an actual page there. You see on the far right, project information. Your technician in the field is going to want to, when they get to job site, just snap a picture of that QR for their own knowledge and make sure that they're pulling the right application out there for the project. So that's all the details for that project. Blue line you see actually matches the address. So if I'm a tech in the field, I'm like, okay, I've got the right project, it's the right address. Go ahead and click it again. Yeah, there you go. And then what the approval ID is. Notice there's a letter at the end of that approval ID. That letter signifies the version that you're working on. So A would be, I just submitted the application, I got everything done, good. A B would signify I've done a revision, C, etc., and it can go all the way down to Z. So that's just making sure. Sometimes you'll have a technician get outside and say, oh, I printed out the documents a little early. We did a revision. I need to make sure I have that correct revision. And that's an easy way to verify that everything matches what's installed there on site.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. All right. An additional requirement document that SolarAPP produces is called the SolarAPP Fire Bulletin. Since traditionally SolarAPP doesn't require electrical diagrams, things like additional disconnecting means are often not detailed within the system. But the Fire Bulletin appendix or Fire Bulletin document details the things that are required at the installation. So one of the things that's required is your PV disconnecting means has to be in compliance with 2020 National Electrical Code, and you need to have a rapid shutdown switch readily available. In addition to these additional disconnecting means and fire bulletin requirements, which also details fire access pathways and things of that nature, there are some general guidelines that SolarAPP requires. So some notables. The inspection checklist indicates minimum wire sizes. So where SolarAPP indicates your wire size could be a 10 gauge, it also gives you a map to help you upsize wire, say you're upsizing for a voltage drop, and then the associated overcurrent protective device that should be included with that upsized wire. So the key takeaway here is that all of your wire sizes are minimum size, and updating the wire, upsizing the wire actually makes the system safer, so that's allowed. What is not alterable is your overcurrent protective device rating. So any place where you've detailed or SolarAPP has detailed a protective breaker, that protective breaker rating must match at the installation and inspection. So if I have detailed that my inverter 1 overcurrent protective device rating is 60 amps, if I've installed anything other than a 60 amp overcurrent protective breaker at my installation, I should expect to fail inspection, right? So what I'm detailing here is your OCPDs must match, your wire sizes are minimum, you can't upsize them. And then I talked about before, we've taken all that information from your single line diagram. Instead of being in a graphical single line diagram, it makes it really difficult for an automated tool to review. We've taken that information and put it in text format. So from an inspector's perspective and an installation perspective, if I'm looking at these sections, as say I'm as the installer and I'm verifying that I have installed what is detailed on this checklist, I give no room or reason for the inspector to fail me at inspection. So basically, SolarAPP is giving you a recipe to pass inspection. It would behoove you as the installer and your inspection teams to make sure that you've gone through the entire list and you can check all those boxes and say that you've accounted for those different parameters.
All right. So what happens when I have questions? So first and foremost, we have that email address there. You see support@solarappfoundation.org or gosolarapp.org. Both will come to us. And this is the easiest way to get questions answered on, I'm working on a specific project. I'm getting some weird thing going on with an error. What do I do? Situation. We also have what's called SolarAPP Assist. And you see the sign up there on the far right. This gives you access to one of our technicians who will sit down with your project with you and for 15 minutes walk through your inputs. This is good when maybe it's not just one error, maybe you've got 2 or 3 coming up and you're curious as to why you're getting it, what are you detailing improperly maybe in the system, or you need more help on it's a new product that your company's starting to install. How would that look within SolarAPP? This is a great way to utilize some of our staff's time to walk you through that project. For UL 2703 grounding and bonding compliance, saving the system, we already have approved combinations of racking and PV modules within our database. But if some new ones come out, I mean, we all know new modules come out every day, and the racking manufacturers are testing with those modules. They have new testing parameters. They put out the UL 2703 reports. They add it to their list of modules that they work with. We have a process there that you can submit to us directly to update the database directly. Um, the benefit of SolarAPP, I just put this here on the slide for contractors in general. It's a removal of unnecessary notations typically required for the plans. So we're not looking for things that are conduit will be painted or duplicate code references and all that other stuff. The whole point of SolarAPP on this stuff is efficiency, right? So a lot of that stuff goes away for what you're used to seeing in the past. Back to you, Mark.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. The last thing I want to close out with is what we call the long form. What we have is a standardized detailed form that captures all installer submitted inputs for the project. The long form provides full transparency into what was designed and what SolarAPP evaluated. It's a source of truth for inspection. Your project should be installed with this in mind, as this document may be used at inspection to verify certain project elements were installed according to plan. When you scroll through the long form, you'll see a full range of calculations from circuit ampacity and overcurrent protection to raptor spans, DC voltage, and inverter specs. Everything that SolarAPP Plus uses to verify code compliance is there. From a safety standpoint, it's a pretty comprehensive package. So let's just go take a look at it real quick. Here is that sample project that I was working on. I've gotten through the whole thing, gotten through a compliant project. I'm presented with my inspection checklist. This is deliverable I will use to stand my inspection. It's going to cover everything from the main service panel all the way up to the roof and the array on the roof. And then I have my permit long form. This is basically, this is basically all of the information, all of the receipt of my inputs. And actually, I'm going to go review this again so I can pop this guy up. Bear with me for 1 second. And then the last document that you'll see on there will be the uploads document. So I go click review here. This is sending my project through code compliance review. So it's looking at all of the information that I detailed, and I detailed information from a site plan, from a single line diagram, from product safety standards to get to this point. Here is my permit long form about to generate. And you'll see as I'm going to scroll down to some of the meaty parts. This is basically looking at everything that the code requires to do a solar and storage system. It's got a big watermark on it because I'm in a demo service. This is a not valid application, but you're going to see tables pulled from the NEC. This is how SolarAPP is calculating things. So here's a table from NEC 240.4 and table 310.15. So SolarAPP is very much looking at the National Electrical Code, at the residential code, at the fire code, pulling information from those, running things through validation and calculation, reaching out to databases to pull information. So it is every bit of the same extensive plan review that your jurisdiction would have done through manual means, done in an automated fashion.
Might be losing Mark there. I can take over here. Yeah. So these are the last bit of documentation, right? So you've got the inspection checklist, you've got the permit long form, and then you've got your uploads. The uploads down below there. Oh, you're back, Mark. You want to take over back from uploads?
I don't know when I got out, but
we started hearing you less and less situation. So I was just telling them, see, you're going over the long form there, and then we go to the uploads section here, right? So these are your data sheets that you've uploaded into the system, and it's just attached to the same project situation to make sure that you've got those there for the inspector.
Yeah, and what I wanted to show on this one was that you're going to include a line diagram in your section. I go back to it right here. So under your certifications page, you're going to have additional documents. That's going to be the section where you're going to upload your line diagram. Once you do that, that line diagram is going to become part of your permit record. It will become part of the email sent to DORA, and that's typically what your inspection is going to be stood off of. So for DORA territories, it will be that line diagram plus the inspection checklist. You'll see both. So for this diagram, you'll see that we have a diagram shown on the inspection checklist. And then in the uploads, you're going to see the contractor provided line diagram. And that's going to complete the submittal package for Department of Regulatory Agencies. Now, the way you'll finish this with DORA is you'll go pay your platform fees. That's your fee directly to SolarAPP. It's typically $35 for a PV-only project, additional 25 if you're including a battery, so 60 total for this project. This one's already been approved once. Since I'm doing a revision, SolarAPP is going to give me 3 free revisions, so I'm going to apply a credit for this one. And then I will need to navigate out to the Department of Regulatory Agency's website to pay for my electrical permit. The SolarAPP is going to send me there with the correct documentation. Awesome. And if I see no more questions in the chat or the Q&A, I'm going to thank you all for your attendance today. I'm going to throw up the support email for SolarAPP. This goes directly to Brandon's desk, so feel free to email him as often and regular as possible. He loves to answer questions and talk to installers. We also have some experienced designers on staff. Brandon and I probably have 50 years of experience between the two of us working in the solar industry. So we're here to help you, assist you guys, get better at your applications, get safer in the field. My personal goal is to leave this industry better than when I found it. And that means that we're doing things more accurately in the field. We're making safer installations. It's easier. We're not pulling our hair out to do it. And we feel good when we're done with our job at the end of the day. So with that, I would say thank you to everyone, and we'll see you submitting permits in DORA.
Thanks, all.